The open forum is a privilege that is given to the constituents of our community in our area to address the council on things that are on the council. It is requested that you do so respectfully, that you do so addressing the council, not addressing somebody in the audience. It is here for communication with the council. If you have something to say to somebody other than somebody at the council table, please do that outside of this place. The rules are to be followed. If the rules are not followed, similar to what happened last time, 3 weeks ago, we can't run a meeting. The job of the council is to do the council's work. And if we're going to be disorderly and not follow rules, then that right will be taken away. And it's not for personal attacks. You're not here to bash somebody or to dig a hole. You're here to do the good work. So if you have something to say to somebody in the audience, say it to them, not at the podium. Again, there's a 3-minute limit. And I think I covered everything that we talked about. Okay, so we have 13 people who have signed up. First, we have Lydia Meyer. And then I'll just ask if you live within the community or outside of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Lydia Meyer. I do not reside within city limits, but I attend Willmar High School. Willmar is my home. I am 16. I cannot vote or run for office. I won't be caucusing tomorrow night, but I believe that everyone has the right to be politically active. I'm here tonight because if I, as a Christian, claim to have a faith that tells me to stand up against injustice when I see it in our community, but I don't, then what does that tell the world about people of faith? What does that tell the world about Willmar? I'm here because I can't believe that in 2018, we still have to remind people, including some state legislatures, that every citizen has a right to caucus regardless of religion, gender, race, or background. We all have the same rights, even though some in our community are being told that they do not. And I'm here because I believe local leaders should hear from my perspective about leadership. An oath of office is a vow to serve all members of the community, and the Facebook controversy does not reflect this. But even with recent events that have elevated the issue to a state level, I still believe that this is about more than what was shared on social media. Leadership should belong to those who unite the people they lead, not those who encourage divisive narratives. Leadership is not perfection, but leaders should be accountable. We should be able to trust that when someone who claims to be a leader makes a mistake, they will own up to it. We are asking for leaders who listen more and defend their positions less. We are asking for respect and to have leaders that we can respect. And leadership is why a group of individuals came together when we saw something in our town that we couldn't stand behind. It's why we listen to each other and are choosing to say, not only does this matter to our neighbors, but it matters to us, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Leadership is why the proposed welcoming resolution is so vital. The resolution helps us all become better and stronger as a community, and it makes a statement to our neighbors. We are doing our best to listen and to advocate for what is important, because we are a community, and that is what communities do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Mr. Bob Score.
Bob Score, 617 Southwest 14th Street. I am a homeowner in Willmar. Tonight I come here to ask for the resignation of 3 people due to the reasons that I feel they are unfit for their positions. First, you, Mayor Kelvin. I ask for your resignation due to your lack of not backing all citizens in this town. Asking all citizens to support illegals in this county and this town, taking away citizens' freedom of speech as you did mine and 12 others at the last council meeting, who ventured out in the cold to speak their 3 minutes of whatever they wanted to talk about. being one of the main directors behind the separation of one of our city administrators. Also, I feel you are a member of the Recall Ron Committee. You gave Bev Doherty a $2,000 cash advance to pay your dues to the Main Street Association when she couldn't find the money to pay for it. Allowing smoking in the restricted zones in downtown Willmar, allowing some of the people in Willmar to drive without license and insurance, allowing them to mess on our streets, in our stores, and in our hospitals. You are politically motivated for the votes from minorities in this town and have a personal agenda that is not good for Willmar. That's how I feel. I'm going to ask you for resignation. Second, I ask for the resignation of our city administrator. I feel that he is not doing his job, just biding his time looking for another job, while being ready for retirement and backing Kelvin times that he shouldn't. Third, I ask the resignation of Sean Meskey, council member and member of Human Rights Commission in Willmar. His statement calling those who speak up for what they believe in, especially our veterans and myself, the underbelly of Willmar, is not acceptable by being on a Human Rights Commission. Just who is a Human Rights Commission for? Not all Willmar rights? You and another person who speaks about this stuff. Everybody's supposed to be the same in this town, but it doesn't work that way. I don't feel you should be on the council. That's my opinion. People ask for Councilman Christensen's resignation. I asked for years. I'm not going to waste any more time. I got some stuff to get on, but you know, I'm going to say one thing. Here's a picture of, you ever go to a basketball game and have a favorite place to sit? And then you go to the game and somebody's sitting in your position? Well, there's a person who likes to sit right here, but there's some Somalis sitting there. Well, wait a minute. That was you, Mayor Kelvin. Are you Islamophobic? Thank you.
Linda Olson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In 2018, we have a choice to make. Everyone from ourselves in this room to our communities and to our elected leaders and our candidates seeking office, we are going to have to decide, will we choose a politics of fear and division that allows some politicians to build their power through fear on some imagined other, other, or will we come together to focus on our future and the future of Minnesota? We want all candidates and all parties, instead of focusing on fear and division, to have a conversation that matters. We need a conversation that puts the biggest solutions out there that actually match the crises our families are facing. In Isaiah, which I am a member of, at our meetings, we are hearing about rising insurance and health care costs, student debt, concerns about access to quality education for our children, families torn apart because there's no path to full citizenship for hardworking, longtime community members, a rural economy whose wages don't match the needs of families, a desire to age in a place and dignity, and a serious lack of access to affordable and adequate housing. These are real issues that affect so many people in our community. What we need to start talking about tomorrow is what we need to plan on today. We need leaders that are 100% committed to dividing the bridges that divide us. Not silent ones, not neutral ones, but learning and leaning to have hard, fearless conversations that we need to have if we're going to solve the problems in our future. We need elected officials and a political system that is accountable to the real people and real communities. These conversations start tomorrow. In the Great Minnesota Caucus process, we would like to encourage every person eligible to vote in the 2018 elections to stand and attend your local caucuses. Choose the party that most closely reflects your values and find your caucus's location at the Minnesota Secretary of State website under Caucus Finder tool. Building bridges begins tonight with passage of this welcoming resolution and continues tomorrow beginning at 7 o'clock. In locations across our state, we can talk to our neighbors about bringing about real solutions and a hopeful future to our state and community. In doing our talk, in interacting with each other, speaking out, and standing up for what we believe, we are building a future. And if we don't do this, what are we telling our children, and what kind of future will our children have?
Thank you for your comments.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I didn't catch your name.
Linda Olson.
Linda Olson, thank you.
Are you,
I'm sorry, I live about between Willmar and Spicer, and I taught in Willmar Public Schools, and my children attended schools.
Mr. John Burns?
I'm John Burns. I'm a resident of Willmar. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I speak in favor of the resolution. The resolution really shouldn't be necessary. As Mr. Fagerly has pointed out, we have a big sign out on the highway here that says, "Welcome to Willmar." However, recent events, which I need not set forth in detail here, would show that maybe we should make some amendments to that sign. The sign might read, "Welcome to Willmar if you're white. Welcome to Willmar if you are of Northern European extraction. Welcome to Willmar if you are claimed to be some kind of Christian." Doesn't make any difference what you do with that, preferably fundamentalist. We have to clear that up. It's welcome to Willmar, period. And it's welcome to Willmar, not just to pass through and spend your money, but to settle here, and to raise your family here, and to get an education here, and to work here, and to contribute to the economy here. I don't care what your race, creed, national origin is. Welcome to Willmar, and we need that resolution because that matter has been put into question by recent events. When I talk about First Amendment, First Amendment protects the rights of people to say absolutely hateful, disgusting, un-American, un-Christian things. That is protected. It is protected for the neo-Nazis who marched through Skokie, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago that has a large Jewish population. At the time of this, there were many Holocaust survivors there. That right to march through and do things that and demonstrate in ways that were just terrible as far as the people. They had a protected right to do that. And so all the hateful speech and so on, they have a protected right. Out of the question, no question. The question is, should we elect people who have those kinds of views and articulate those kinds of views to public office where they supposedly represent all of the people? My answer would be no. But that's up to the people. To our Muslim brothers and sisters, I know that one of the most important prophets in the Quran is Isa. And I don't know whether, if you have an opportunity, you might want to read the words and the examples set forth in the Christian Bible by Isa.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Bratvold.
Thank you. City Council, members.
Name and if you reside in.
Chris Bratfold, City of Willmar. I'm here to express my opposition to the resolution declaring Willmar a welcoming city. Even though I do not support this resolution, I do support immigration and inclusion of all individuals who start a new life here. I wholeheartedly support the notion that Willmar and all cities, for that matter, need to be welcoming to people regardless of their origin or religion. I'm not going to stand here and say everything is perfectly fine, because it's not. I've read and heard stories about the ways some immigrants have been treated. It's saddening to know that this kind of treatment of others still occurs. Fortunately, though, we have laws in place that punish those who perform these bigoted and hateful actions. However, I would like it to be known that the actions of a few do not represent the majority. I am offended at the notion that the community needs to be admonished by passing a resolution because of the actions of a few. I feel this declaration implies that Willmar is not already a welcoming city, and that we do not do enough for its immigrant population or for those who practice different religions' views. While as a whole we can do more for each other, I have to ask, will what we do ever be enough in the eyes of some? In closing, I believe in actions and not words. The reality is that this resolution does nothing but tell the community that all the hard work and taxes they contribute to support the dreams of others isn't enough. Please stand and support the rest of the community who already do the best they can to help Willmar be a welcoming city by voting no. Thank you for your time. And also, on a personal note, after I wrote this, my wife works extensively with the Somali community and also works with the disadvantaged of this community. And she takes also great offense to what she's been hearing regarding this welcoming city resolution. Her and I live by an inclusion actions in our lives. And we both find it very offensive that those in the community feel that we need to have this done because it's simply not necessary. We do what we can, and we both feel that some in the community don't appreciate what we do already. And so also have to say too is if those who don't feel that you as leaders do enough, that's what voting's for. So I recommend they take it to that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Jim Dockin. Jim Dockin. Good to see you, Mr. Dockin.
Nice to see you, Mayor Calvin, and the rest of the council. My name is Jim Dockin. I'm here tonight to talk about the First Amendment and the perspective of a veteran. As many of you know, I served for 22 years in the United States Air Force. Time after time, the American soldier has answered the call to protect and defend the interests of the United States. Willmar City Council members and her mayor swear an oath to Americans soldiers to defend the principles embodied in the greatest democratic charter the world has ever known, the U.S. Constitution. Every fighting man and woman knowingly accepts the possibility of a supreme sacrifice. 40 million American military have served during periods of war. Nearly 3 million have served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Well over 1 million service personnel have died during wartime. The First Amendment the Founding Fathers penned to the Constitution was freedom of speech. The remainder of the Constitution means nothing without the First Amendment. My fellow veterans and I are appalled at the attacks seen on free speech in Willmar. Lately, during your last council meeting, a dozen citizens braved sub-freezing temperatures on their own time to speak to all of you here, only to be shut down and sent home. Censorship of the open forum violates the basic rights of citizens to petition their government for redress. A longtime council member has been subjected to repeated vicious attacks over free speech for publicly sympathizing with constituents whose opinions some don't like. Willmar's official newspaper of record has banned and censored citizens who express controversial, dissenting views. Ordinary citizens in Willmar are regularly tarred and feathered and labeled for opinions that some feel are not politically correct. This is not what our men and women in the military stand for. This kind of behavior is indefensible and outright shameful. Willmar does have a diversity problem, and that is too many people refuse to tolerate opinions that are different from their own. How can America stand for free speech around the world when our own people refuse to tolerate free speech at home? Willmar's veterans.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Sue Quist.
Sue Quist, Willmar. The dictionary defines welcoming as being glad to receive someone. The so-called welcoming resolution you have asked to consider goes far beyond equal opportunity and equal protection under the law. The U.S. Constitution already guarantees equal opportunity. The Minnesota Human Rights Statute already guarantees extraordinary protections for minorities. Government can legislate protection. However, government cannot legislate feelings, attitudes, or emotions. A welcoming feeling is a personal choice, unique to each person's heart. The standard varies with each individual. The key is we don't have to like everybody of the community. The choice of who we like, who we befriend, who we welcome is an individual choice that no government can rightly compel. But what bothers me most is that a self-appointed group who considers themselves the welcoming police claims the right to ostracize me if I don't welcome who they welcome. Do you see the irony here? The people promoting the welcoming resolution are the same people who viciously attack Councilman Ron Christensen and his supporters. Why? Because this group doesn't agree with Ron and his like-minded supporters? Therefore, the supporters of the resolution welcome everyone except for people who don't think like them. The term for this is hypocrisy. This is what Earl Bloom meant when he talked about a brown shirt thought police. Tonight you must make a cold, hard look at an inconvenient truth. Like it or not, Willmar's elected government swore an oath to represent everyone in Willmar, regardless of opinions or political philosophies. You in particular, Mayor Kelvin, campaigned on the promise to listen to all of the citizens, not just those who voted for you. Our elected government does not have the luxury of only representing taxpayers you agree with. That's a far bigger problem than the welcoming resolution. You are accountable to everyone, whether you like us or not. Endorsing this resolution will serve no other purpose than to deepen a divide that has already grown worse since the last elections. Lastly, the welcoming resolution you're considering is inspired by a national movement called welcomingcommunities.org. This movement has recruited 3 cities already from Minnesota, Austin, St. Charles, and Grand Forks, into their network, and hopes to make Willmar its 4th. Here's an excerpt from this group's website. Sanctuary cities desire to resist changes in the law that require law enforcement agencies to enforce immigration laws, from asking people about their immigration status, from using local resources to detain illegal immigrants. We stand in support of sanctuary cities. Be very clear, council and citizens. The welcoming resolution is more than a symbolic gesture. If passed, this resolution sets the stage to establish Willmar as a sanctuary city by a different name. It's a code phrase that proclaims Willmar has got the welcome mat out for every illegal immigrant and non-assimilating refugee seeking haven. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Bob Enos. Mr. Bob Enos.
Mr. Mayor, I have some handouts that could accompany my talking to you, if I may hand them to you.
Give them to the city clerk, please.
And a request, if you would. You know, I haven't been here for a long time, right? I haven't been here for a long time, and the last time I was here, you kind of sliced my time off. Do you remember that? So this is what I'm asking.
So,
This is what I'm asking.
Bob, just a minute, please.
Yes, sir.
Can we reset the timer, please?
What I'm asking, sir, is
minute,
if you would
please.
credit
Just a minute.
my time.
You wanted us to have these first, correct?
Pardon me, please?
You want us to have these first?
It would probably help you. Now, as I was saying, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I wonder if you'd be kind enough to credit me that time that I lost the last time I was here a year ago. With another minute and a half, I could do this better justice, and it's only 4.5 minutes.
3 minutes.
Submitted for your consideration on behalf of concerned citizens of Willmar is what we call the Willmar First Citizens Compact. Whereas the Willmar City Council is considering a welcoming resolution, whereas equal opportunity and equal protection under the law are guaranteed by the Constitution, whereas Islamic states, including the country of Somalia, place Sharia law above constitutional law, prohibit the spread of religion other than Islam, endorse unequal private property and inheritance rights for women, permit the physical abuse of female children, and prohibit criticism. Whereas the Refugee Act of 1980 places an unfunded set of burdens upon the city of Willmar, such as affordable housing, health care, education, law enforcement, corrections, and public health. Whereas the Minnesota Office of the Refugee Resettlement determines that refugees pose public health risks, including HIV/AIDS, sexually transmitted diseases, tuberculosis, hepatitis, parasitic disease, and leprosy. Whereas data from the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, and the WHO show that East African refugee families in our area substantially live below the federal poverty level, with approximately 50% unemployment. Studies for the Center for Immigration Studies indicate the same family receives nearly $500,000 in taxpayer-funded services in a 5-year period. Former U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger described Minnesota as the most fertile recruitment region for potential Islamist terrorists in the United States. Over 12 million immigrants are in the United States who got here through illegal means. And illegal immigration is an absolute affront to every immigrant who has entered or has waited to enter the United States by playing by the numbers. This is what we ask you to resolve. Newcomers, current residents, enjoy equal opportunity and protection under the law. No law supersedes the U.S. Constitution. There's a clear separation between church and state. Newcomers make faithful efforts to assimilate to the American way of life. Newcomers will make all efforts to promptly establish self-sufficiency with unsubsidized living wages, placing no burden on the taxpayers. Non-Willmar government agencies and their contractors are liable for unreasonable economic impact on the town. Residents shall embrace the equal rights of women and protection of children. No protection or sanctuary shall be extended to people who have entered the United States and live in Willmar unlawfully. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ron Bannister. Ron Bannister.
Good evening. I got asked to speak at the last moment. I was
Name and if you're in the city or not, please.
Ron Branstner, Eden Valley, Minnesota. I was asked to come up here. I wasn't planning to speak, but the reason I came here and was to listen about this welcoming resolution, which I attended the one in St. Cloud, which became a fiasco, and now you're having it here at St. Joseph is also doing the resolution tonight. Hutchinson just put it down last week. They banned the resolution. Now, what I do outside of my work is I speak on the Welcoming Cities resolution. I go to a 3-state area, and I do this on a weekly basis. I speak to cities, city councils. I ask that you, before you do any type of resolution or even speak on or even vote on this, give me some time to actually sit down with you and explain to you exactly what this resolution means. I'm not sure whether you know where this resolution comes from. It does not come from a feel-good idea. It's not something that just a city comes up and says, hey, this is a good idea. Let's make a resolution, make everybody feel good. That's not where this resolution comes from. This resolution comes from the United Nations. Read about it. Study it. I speak about this in front of hundreds of people at a time, and I plan on coming to Willmar. And when Willmar people, the residents of this town, here's where this resolution comes from. It comes from the CGI, the Clinton Global Initiative, back in 2013. This isn't something that just came out of the blue and said, hey, let's all feel good. This comes from the United Nations. This comes from Vision 33, Agenda 21. If you pass this, there are things that come behind this. And these people need to understand in this audience, this doesn't just stop here. You've got the mayor's compact that comes behind that, which Sioux Falls just signed on to, which is hate speech, and Hudson, Wisconsin, and 6 cities in Minnesota just signed on. There's an array of different things that come on. When you pass this, there are things that follow this behind this. Free speech is being taken away. That's the next one they go to. This is originated back in 2013. It starts back in 2005 under House United Resolutions 1618. It was passed by the Democrats a day after Christmas in 2015 that this whole resolution is designed at a higher level other than you. And unless you understand where it comes from, and when I get out here and I start speaking in Willmar, and these people start hearing about this and find out what you passed, without studying where it comes from, they're going to be furious. Because this isn't just you guys all feeling good and going home and having cookies and cakes and coffee and saying, hey, look, we all feel good. Find out where it comes from. Read about where it comes from. St. Cloud is having a turmoil right now of what they did up there. You've got this happening all over the country right now, all over the world. Australia is involved in this. If the whole world is doing this, why is it?
Thank you for your time.
My time is up.
George Hallstrom.
I'm going to pass. I got friends on both sides, and this is my first time to this, so I'm just going to listen tonight.
Thank you. Edward Peterson.
Good evening. First
Your
of
name
all,
and
I'm
if you
here
live in
to
town or
support. Pardon?
Name and if you live in town or not.
Don't you have that written there?
Yeah, I do.
Well, okay. Can you read? I'm here first of all to support Ron Christensen. But I can't believe that
Point
I'm
of
in a
order,
little
Mr. Mayor?
town in the middle of Minnesota.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. What's your point of order?
I believe the gentleman needs to state his name and whether he lives in the community or not.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor of the point of order? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion passes. State your name and address for the record, please. Your name and if you live in town or not.
Jesus. Edward H. Peterson. Yes, I live in Willmar.
Thank you.
And I repeat again, I'm here in favor of Ron Christensen. We're not in Mogadishu here. And yet the way this newspaper and the collusion of some of you on the council, and mostly the Somalians, think that they own the place. Well, they don't. And if there's collusion here, starts with this paper, Muskie, and the brain-dead mayor. That's it.
Thank you for your comments. Mark Fromke?
Yeah, my name is Mark Fromke. I don't live in Willmar, but you've seen me enough at these city council meetings, you could probably start to charge me taxes and things. But Honorable Mayor, Honorable City Council, I'm here today to speak on behalf of over 1,000 members of the AFL-CIO in your community of Willmar and even more surrounding it. The AFL-CIO, the unions, we're like any other organization. Not everybody agrees with our positions. But what I want to do here today is to say that this resolution that you will be voting on tonight, to me, representing the AFL-CIO and our members, is a fair resolution. It's a timely resolution and meets the needs of your community. Last time we kind of went through this, but we only had one speaker because he didn't abide by the time. But you asked the question, what's new, Mr. Mayor? And I just wanted to let you know that in Moorhead, Minnesota, there was a resolution similar to this that passed unanimously. In Fargo, right across the border, it passed 4-1. Grand Forks, North Dakota, it passed unanimously, and there will be resolutions coming to Dilworth, West Fargo, and East Grand Forks. You know, we're all immigrants at one time. And, you know, I'm a German. And at one time, people said Germans knew nothing. According to my mother, that's still true. But the truth is, we all at one time were not so much welcomed. And at one time, we had difficulties because we dressed different, we spoke a different language, and had different types of religion. But from the first day of Willmar or any other city, there's always been diversity. And so I'm proud of you today taking on this resolution and going to pass it. It's the right thing to do at the right time. And as a citizen of Minnesota, representing the AFL-CIO, I want to thank you for your courage, because it takes courage sometime to do these things. And the last thing I want to say is Martin Luther King. I just listened to the last bit of his I Had a Dream speech. And he said he fears no man because the Lord has let him see, you know, the other side of the mountain. And you guys fear nobody, pass this.
Thank you for your comments. Peter Wilson. Your name and if you live in the city or not.
My name is Peter Wilson. I live in Sartell, Minnesota, outside the city. I have been graciously treated when I've come to this city. I used to sell business insurance to dealerships. I did that about almost 29 years and moved up here from Iowa for John Deere Company and then Century. I'm here to urge you to vote no. We talk about different things here about immigration or assimilation and things. I was at I had never been to one before, although I've been many places in this country and in the world, and my wife became a citizen in 2016. She came over in 1979 as a refugee from Southeast Asia. So I'm very proud of that, and in looking at it, I don't see it as a matter of race. I see it more as a matter of culture and a matter of costs. I don't think anyone in this room, back here also, is going to be able to sit today and tell me what the impact of this is. If you can, you're more intelligent than me. You go back to the impact of anything, it's rarely known. And sometimes it's unintended consequences, and sometimes it is not perceived where it goes. The initial impact of Medicare was going to be $1 billion a year. Well, it's a lot more than that. It's changed. When you vote for this, if you do, hopefully you don't, you open a door. Though there are very few people who know where that will end. There are those who know where it's intended to be, and that is not a good place. That is not just hate speech. Put the word speech out of your vocabulary. Hate thoughts, hate visions. You go down this road, this is not where you want to be in the future. No one has any idea of what the costs of these places are. The numbers I've seen when you put together the various costs in the St. Cloud area are approaching $4 million a year on interpreters alone. Now that, if those of you who haven't seen that or been aware of it, now I don't know what it would be here because this is a smaller community, but it's huge. Now that's the cost not only of interpreters for police departments or governmental groups, but it's also for the health providers. All these people are everywhere. Again, hey, maybe there was the equivalent in today's dollars of $250,000 or $500,000 might be the cost, but who's going to pay that? If any changes are made, those individuals, those entities, companies, or firms should be presenting letters of credit to you so you could present to them, hey, it cost me this much to train the police, to train the local government, to train the people at the prisons. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. There was clapping and cheering and stuff, so if some of you did not hear, I thank all of the presenters for presenting. So if you didn't hear me say thank you to everybody who presented tonight. Next, we're going to a consideration of the resolution declaring Willmar as a welcoming community. Mr. Holland? Mr. Maskey?
Councilmember Maskey is going to address that.
Well, I wasn't prepared to present it, but I will answer a few questions in light of what we heard. First one would be, I have no intentions of resigning from the Willmar City Council for any position that I have made as far as this welcoming committee resolution is concerned, so you can just put that to bed. However, I will be only serving one term on the Willmar City Council, which I've decided to do long ago. So as you say, the voters can put up with me afterward, or let me go afterwards. I have no intentions of running again. However, as far as this is concerned, the reason that I asked that it be considered is because I'm a strong advocate for free speech, and I have been since this whole process. And I have said it not only here, but at the Human Rights Commission, and I'll say it again. And because the only thing I was hearing for several meetings was Ron Christensen should resign over Facebook liking, and I don't believe that he should. Absolutely not. It is his right to say whatever he wishes, and I know there are people that don't want to hear that, but that is what it is. And we had a couple comments about free speech. They're absolutely accurate. I can't change free speech, but it's a double-edged sword. Those that want to speak against Facebook free speech can do that, and we've entertained that. That's part of the democracy that makes this country great, and so we sit and we will listen to that. When I heard the welcoming resolution, it is the first thing that I had heard in any public forum that was being discussed that wasn't Ron Christensen should resign over Facebook comments, which was refreshing, and I thought maybe this is something that we could take a look at. On the Human Rights Commission, I had seen a larger resolution that speaks to some fears that I've heard out here today about sanctuary city things and sort of this stuff. And the Human Rights Commission made it very clear we are not interested in Willmar of having a sanctuary city. We made it very clear. That never came to a council, but we talked about that. That is not something we want to entertain. And so in light of that, if we're going to preserve free speech no matter what people are saying, whether you think it's hate speech or not, and we're basically not supporting a sanctuary city, we're taking things that reaffirm, and we've heard it again from speakers tonight, constitutional pieces that are already guaranteed. It's just a reaffirmation of what makes this country great. We weren't talking about trying to do some of these things that people are saying, this is on the horizon. We're just talking about reaffirming what we do. Every time we start these city council meetings, including this evening, we did a Pledge of Allegiance. We reaffirmed our allegiance to this flag. All this resolution does, in my opinion, is reaffirm our dedication to what makes this country great. And so that is where I sit on this. I hear the fear of what could come, but I think we've addressed actually what those things that could come. We've already addressed them. And so I'll be the one that's, you can call me a fool if all of a sudden we lose free speech and that we lose the ability to do this, that, and the other thing. But all I looked at is this is a reaffirmation of what we already do in this country. And so that's why I speak in support of it.
So it has been introduced. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Were you going to read it? Since it's changed?
It hasn't changed. This is what was originally presented.
Okay, I understood it was because it was longer.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Well, I speak in opposition to it. I mean, we've heard many people tonight give plenty of reason to it, but I had many contacts and phone calls, and I had 2 people that called and said, we should pass this resolution. And I have to say, there's over 2 dozen that told me, no, we don't need it in Willmar. The time is not right, as somebody says the time is right for this. We affirm our belief in all people through our Constitution and our oath of office to the Constitution, not just the United States Constitution, but the state one and the city charter. Nowhere in there does it say we don't welcome somebody. And Councilman Fagerly said it so eloquently, saying, look at the signs when you come into Willmar. It's welcome to Willmar. It doesn't say we don't welcome certain people. This resolution isn't necessary. You resolve in your own hearts who you welcome and who you don't. And you're free to introduce this resolution, but I speak against it because of those reasons. And I don't believe that the majority of Willmar believes that we should pass this resolution. I say this at many council meetings. I'll say it again. It's easy for us to sit up here and listen to a speaker and be convinced that we should do this while not thinking about who voted us into office. I listen to those people all the time. And I know I'm conservative, and I have a lot of conservative friends, but a lot of liberal friends call me also, give me their opinions. This resolution is not necessary, folks. You all either welcome people or you don't, and it's, if you think you don't want to welcome some people, that's your freedom. We can't control thoughts. However, it's been tried on me. My freedom of speech has been shrunk. Along with that comes trust. And I don't trust this document to do anything for the city of Willmar. I don't trust it. And trust is the basis of every relationship in your life. Marriage, business, church, God. It's trust. And if you don't trust me to welcome you all, it's never going to happen. The resolution isn't necessary, folks. Thank you.
Councilman Nelson.
I'm just asking that before we vote, I would like the resolution to be read.
I'll read the resolution. Thank you. I'm trying to expand it here so we can actually see it. My bad eye. Whereas the city of Willmar and the surrounding area is stronger when all community residents are unified, engaged, and valued as both neighbors and contributors to the public good. And whereas in further recognition of the great ideal of equality and freedom as outlined in the United States Constitution and amendments, and whereas in pursuit of a community in which all residents without regard to age, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, religion, or country of origin should be free to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Willmar, as representative of the city council, as representative of the city of Willmar, hereby declare and resolve the city of Willmar to be a welcoming city to all who wish to come and contribute to the public good and future success of this community. Dated this day, February 5th, February 2018. Thank you. Additional discussion. Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mr. Burns did state, you know, we do have some pretty nice welcome to Willmar signs here. And we are in Minnesota, and we're known for Minnesota nice. We just had a Super Bowl here, and just about everyone loved it. To me, you know, this really sounds great, but Mr. Holland on the radio said, I don't remember what you said, how it's symbolic. It's not going to do anything. So for me, it's like a participation ribbon when you're in preschool or kindergarten. You keep it on your dresser for 2 weeks, and then you put it in the drawer, and then your mom throws it away. So I really don't think we need it. So.
Councilmember Alvarado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I believe that we should consider this resolution. And the reason I believe that is we have the welcoming sign, and I think that this gives it a little more purpose. It's the same thing that we have it in our Constitution. I think Mr. Christensen, Councilman Christensen mentioned it. It's in our U.S. Constitution. It's in our state constitution. It's trickling down into our city government. What I don't understand, if you're not going to live by it, these words don't mean anything to you. They don't mean anything to you. But if you live by it, it's going to make you feel good about the community you live in. And I believe it's the right thing to do. I look around at our diversity, and I look at what we can do together and how we can build together and what a great community we can have together. We want to welcome everybody to build a stronger fabric. And if we don't do that, we're never going to be a strong fabric. So I'm for the opportunity to vote for this.
Councilmember Osmus.
Thank you, Mayor. I also would vote in favor of the resolution. I'm also part of Ward 2, as is Mr. Christensen. And I also received a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails in support of the resolution. So to say that a majority of our constituents in Ward 2 or the majority of the citizens of Willmar, I don't believe that's a reflective statement. I also just want to reiterate what Councilmember Plowman brought up at a previous city council meeting in stating that even though this is a piece of paper and it does just, if I can paraphrase him, it does just go up on a wall or on a shelf, what it does is it sets the tone to the city's leadership. And I like to believe that we are a welcoming community. And that is the message that we do need to send, is that we are a welcoming community. And so I speak in favor of it. I don't, when different people have called me, I guess to me it's a no-brainer. It's why would we not open our arms and our community to people that want to come and work here? We want our kids to come back and work in this community. We want people to consider moving here and raising their families here and working here so that we can have doctors and nurses and teachers and mechanics and hairdressers. That doesn't happen if we are not a truly welcoming community. And I don't understand how this got to be a veteran issue. I'm a veteran. Many members on this council are veterans. Our city administrator is a veteran. This has nothing to do with serving our country. This is about being decent. And I think we're a community that has a lot of churches. How many do we have? Over 30? And if you are Christian, if you are religious, and you live that, you welcome people. And that's what we are in Willmar. And that's what we represent. And so I speak in favor of it.
Councilmember Fagerly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. I agree with Julie. I said it before. It's either in your heart and soul or it's not there. But if we pass this, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to see it every day. You'll probably never see it again. I would prefer if the Human Rights Commission would do a fundraiser and make bookmarkers or calendars or something with this saying on. You could see it every day. Because this means nothing as a piece of paper that goes in city files.
Councilmember Alvarado.
Answering Councilman Fagerly's question.
Can we speak to the question?
Why don't we print it up? Why don't we print it up and post it?
I've said that for years on the mission statement.
Yes, you have.
Do you see it here? No?
I think Councilmember Nelson.
Hopefully, if we pass this, we will live it. I think that's what Councilmember Plowman said before also. They are words on paper, but I think we need to live those words.
Are we ready to vote? All in favor of the resolution as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Did you get it?
I'm sorry, it's a resolution, so I need a roll
Oh,
call.
I'm sorry. Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen,
No.
Schwantes.
Aye.
Alvarado,
Aye.
Osmus,
Aye.
Maskey,
Aye.
Fagerly,
No.
Nelson.
Aye.
5 ayes, 2 nays.
The resolution does pass.